It is extremely hot in the US. I mean, bees are suffering in the hottest of climates now, and we really need to be concerned. It can really hurt your bees. And I want to tell you today, I've got 5 tips to help you keep your bees cool during this heat wave that is hitting the US. Hey everybody, David Burns, good to be with you today. Beak Squad, look at that. I call you guys my Beak Squad family. We got these coffee mugs available. We also have stickers online. If you want to go to our website and check out some Beak Squad stickers, put on your hives or something. Let's talk about this heat wave. Going to give you 5 tips how to keep your bees a lot cooler. It's so important. First thing we need to talk about is ventilation. Now, if you have a screen bottom board, sometimes there's a cover that goes underneath of them, some sort of a sheet or something, plastic. You can open that up and slide that out, and that will help your bees stay a little bit cooler. So be sure and open up the screen bottom board, let them have a little more ventilation. If you have an entrance reducer on the front of your hive, let's open that up a little bit more. Let's let them pull some more air through the hive. Now, while we're talking about ventilation, one of the things I really like doing is I enjoy putting a coin or a popsicle stick underneath the top cover. This allows some passive ventilation. The bees can pull or push some air, get some hot humid air out of the hive. You can see them on the front, on the bottom board. They're just standing there running their wings at full power, trying to move air to keep that hive cool. So putting that little popsicle stick or a coin under that top cover is really going to assist them in getting that air pulled through the hive to keep it cool. So ventilation is really important. Let's think about how are we going to ventilate that hive. Second thing we're going to think about is a great tip, and I've shared this with you before. It's to put shade on your hive. Now, it's best to keep bees, your hives, right out in the sun. That cuts down on small hive beetle. Beetles don't like to be out in the sun. They like to be in shaded areas. So your hive is probably out in the blazing hot sun on these hot summer days. Here's a trick you can use to bring the shade to your hive without moving your hive. Take a 4x4 piece of plywood or anything, like even a piece of cardboard, and place it on top of your top cover on the outside. Just lay it on the hive, put a concrete block on it. This is going to create a shade, a shadow around your hive. Now, by doing this, what we're doing is we're cutting out the hottest times of the day, 10 to 2. And again, if it rains, it's going to make your cardboard droop. But you can think of anything like plastic, corrugated plastic or something to put on top of your hive. Let it hang over the edges. A 4x4 piece is best. It's going to make more shade. That's always a good tip, is to bring shade to that hive. Now, before we get into tip number 3, let me encourage you, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, click on the bell so you'll be notified each time I make a new video. Let's get back to the tips. Now, the third tip I want to share with you guys is all about water. Now, bees don't always get enough water, even though it may be raining off and on, there may be water puddles. Let's provide a water station. You can use a bird bath, throw some rocks in there, have a water source they can go to, because your bees need to push about 1 gallon of water through that hive on a hot day to cool it off. They use evaporative cooling, so they stop bringing in nectar and honey. They don't do that anymore on a hot day. They only bring in water. They place it on the pupae, the capped over pupae, and then they fan their wings over it, and it's evaporative cooling, much what you see in desert homes. The next thing you need to do is provide room. Now, sometimes if you have all your bees, 60,000 bees packed in a single deep, they're going to be bearding out there at night like crazy. They're just too hot in there. Some of them have to go outside to stay cool. If it gets too hot in the hive, it will actually kill the developing pupae that needs to stay 92 degrees. So they don't need the excess heat. A lot of the bees have to be pushed to the outside, and so that's why you see a lot of bees bearding on the outside. So keep that in mind as well. Now, the final tip I want to share you guys, it's awesome, it's new. You may have never heard of this tip before. I don't think I've ever shared it, but let's go to a hive and I'll show you how to do it. Now, this final tip is awesome. Let me show you this. On a hot day, what you can do is add water directly to the hive. So let's take this top cover off, and I'm going to show you how to use my Burns feeding system just to give them water. So by using the Burns feeding system, you can actually give them water and ventilation at the same time. If you take a look at this, now I have 3 holes that are screened, so the bees are below the 1/8" hardware cloth. And so now you can see what we can do is add water to give them in one of these holes, and we'll leave the other 2 open to increase ventilation. So what we'll do is take this jar of water. Normally this would be like 1-to-1 sugar water. A lot of you ask about the holes in the top that we punch, but these don't leak because of when you turn a jar upside down, it leaks for just a few seconds and then it kind of stops because vacuum holds it in there. I'm going to put this right in the middle. And so now this is going to provide water for the bees to use to help keep their hive cool. Now we don't want to leave it like this because it could rain or something could happen. So we have to cover this box to a certain degree. Well, let me show you what you do. I'm just going to take an empty deep box like this and place it so that it creates a void, an empty space up here. Now, the next tip, we're providing water through the Burns feeding system. By the way, these feeding boards that we make, I invented, are available at our website. I'll leave a link in the description below for these as well. And what we want to do now, though, we want the bees to either be able to push or pull the moisture out of this box. So this is where you're going to place a popsicle stick along the edge somewhere, just one edge of the box, or a quarter. So, you know, if you place a popsicle stick or a quarter under a top cover, it can allow bees to kind of get into your hive. But here, remember, there's a screen holding all the bees in. It won't let robbers in either. I mean, but we just don't want rainwater in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to provide a little place along one of these edges, back or front, put a coin, put a little small stick or something to elevate the top cover so that rainwater doesn't go in, but this moisture can be wicked out. I don't know, does anybody have popsicle sticks anymore? So I'm just going to place a small stick like this, smash it down, see if I can get it. I thought I could get it to stick into some propolis, but there's really none there. But now you can put your top cover back on and you'll see that it won't sit flush on this, and that will be a gap where air can be pulled in or pushed out. Set your top cover on carefully, that the stick remains there, slightly elevating that top cover. That's how you give them water and ventilation using a Burns feeding system. Join me for my live stream every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. We always have a great time. It's a time for the Beak Squad family to get together and talk a lot, share a lot of questions. I have a lot of online beekeeping courses. Please check out all my courses. Here's a link right here. And one that's coming up not too long from now is how to get your bees through the winter. Check out all the online courses. Yeah, it's hot outside, but when it's hot, it means it's time to usually harvest honey. I've got a tip over here to help you guys to know when your frames are ready to be harvested, and another video here to help you guys know how to pull out more frames in the month of July. Check out these videos.